Joining us now at the dais is West Virginia head coach Dana Holgorsen. Welcome, Coach, and your thoughts about the upcoming season.
Well, just like everybody else in the country, pretty excited about the upcoming season. I think we've had a fantastic summer. I think the one thing that stands out at this point in time with our football program that hasn't existed in the past is what our summer was like. We went through June and July, even a little bit of last week in May, with over 100 guys, in the program. A lot of new guys, 31 new guys that we were able to work with a little bit. That's going to get us a little ahead for August. But, at this point in time, the guys have had a great summer. They're ready for a week off. Coaches have had a couple of weeks off, so we're going back to work, get them a little bit of vacation time, and then August 1st rolls around, ready to get started.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach. We got a question in the middle, and then we'll go to the back. Name and affiliation, please.
Hi, Sam Mills with Reddit College Football. Recently, Stefan Bailey has returned to West Virginia to be a student assistant coach. What's it like having him back there, and what do you think he can bring to the coaching staff as well as the players?
Well, Stedman was a great receiver for me at West Virginia. Came out early, so he didn't have his degree. Went to the St. Louis Rams and had an unfortunate incident in Miami about a year ago. So he's not able to play right now. So we worked pretty closely with the Rams to figure out what's in his best interest right now. Seeing how he's not cleared to play, the best thing for him is to focus on his future, and the number one step for that is to get his undergraduate degree. So he's going to be considered a student coach. He'll come back and take a full class load. So which is different than a graduate assistant. A graduate assistant's going to take 6 to 9 hours. He needs to take about 15 hours in order to get his degree here in another year. So we'll see how much he brings to the table. I'm anticipating him being able to take a couple of young receivers and show them some technique stuff and kind of do what he did with the Rams a little bit, just get his feet wet with coaching. And he's got high hopes for being able to play again, and that's going to be out of his control. It's going to be out of my control. But in the meantime, we want him to get his degree and hopefully make a difference on a couple of these what I think are pretty talented young receivers we have at West Virginia.
Got a question on the rear left. Put your hand up so we can see you. Thank you.
Kyle Fredrickson with the Oklahoman. Dana, what did you learn from your one season with Joe Wickline at Oklahoma State, and what type of offensive identity do you hope he brings to your program next year?
Yeah, arguably the best O-line coach I've been around. I've made that comment, on more than one occasion. So he brings a wealth of knowledge. I tell you, we got a good O-line coach in Ron Crook, who's still heading up and running the offensive line meetings. What Joe's going to bring to the table is he's got a wealth of knowledge when it comes to just offensive football in general. I feel like we need to get back to our roots just a little bit more, maintain the run game that we did last year that allowed us to have the Big 12 leading rusher in Wendell Smallwood. And know he's moved on to the NFL, but I feel like we got 3 capable bodies to be able to do the same stuff that Wendell did. And then we got to improve in the pass game. Averaging 35 points a game. Being a top 20 offense isn't good enough in this league. So we got to move the ball a little bit more, score a little bit more points if we want to be in contention to win it.
On the left side, about halfway back. On the left, this
Over
way,
here, Coach.
Left. Your left.
Coach Harrison Graham, ESPN Dallas Radio. You just alluded to the passing game. Skyler Howard at moments was very good last year, but he was also bad at moments. How has he looked this spring, and how does he become more consistent for you this year?
Yeah, it's been a huge emphasis for us. Winning games and losing games, everybody points the finger at me. Being effective in the passing game, everybody points the finger at him. That's not necessarily fair. So being able to have a more comfortable pocket, having a good rapport with the receivers that were all young guys, and keep in mind, Skyler, that was really his first year of playing football for West Virginia as well. Those two things I think are gonna make a huge difference. So having Coach Wickline be able to widen that pocket a little bit, having the the timing, with him and all these receivers that we got, I think it's going to make a bunch of difference. And if we can maintain the running game where we're at and improve that passing game a little bit, I feel like we'll be where we need to be.
On the right side, all the way to the rear.
Dana, over here, Brian Baldinger from Fox Sports. Defensively, Dana, a lot of guys have moved on to the NFL, Nick and Kerry and Darryl. I mean, really good leaders, guys that played a lot of snaps for you, a lot of years. Can they be replaced right now? Do you have something in the pipeline for that type of leadership that they provided?
I was proud of that group of seniors. All those guys you're talking about. We had they're all fourth-year seniors and fifth-year seniors. So they've been in the program basically as long as I've been in the program. And those guys were outstanding developmental guys. Guys like Terrell Chestnut, fifth-year senior, had a wonderful year. Guys like Kyle Rose, fifth-year senior, Kwiatkowski, fifth-year senior, Barber, fifth-year senior, Petaway, fifth-year senior. Those, KJ Dillon, fourth-year senior, Carl Joseph, fourth-year senior. Those guys have played a lot of ball. We recruited those guys 4 and 5 years ago. We didn't quit recruiting 4 or 5 years ago either. So we got some guys that just played behind these guys, and got a lot of experience on special teams. And there's 9 fifth-year seniors that are slated to start. Drayvon's going to be a junior, and Al Benton's going to be a junior. So that's a lot of experience, a lot of older guys that have played a lot of snaps. I think the trick is going to be, and I got all the confidence in the world in Tony Gibson to be able to get this done, is to get those guys to learn how to play together. That's what that group last year had going for them. They played so many snaps together that they knew how to play together. And so I feel like we got the bodies, we got the players. We just got to get those guys to learn how to play together.
Question on the front left side, right here, on this side, Coach, up here on the front.
Hey, Dana. Suzanne Halliburton with Austin American Statesman. I wanted to ask you, it seemed to be, you had Wendell Smallwood last year, and it seemed that it was a really difficult decision to pick an all Big 12 preseason running back this year. Do you think we're seeing a renaissance for running backs again in this league, that it's not just going to be known for passing?
Yeah, it started to trend that way again a year ago. With what we've done in the running game the last couple of years, with what Oklahoma did last year, they struggled a little bit in the run game early, but they could run the ball as good as anybody in the country towards the end of the year. Baylor did a good job of running the ball. Even my man Kingsbury ran the ball more than he has in the past. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to run the ball, and I've talked a lot about improving the pass game, but by no means is that going to detour anything that we're trying to get accomplished in the run game. Wendell had a great year, but everything starts up front. We got Tyler Orlowski here, who's fifth-year senior at center. Adam Pankey, who's played over 2,000 snaps at guard, fifth-year senior. Tony Matteo, fifth-year senior. A couple of good young tackles. So I feel like we got a pretty good O-line. That's where it starts, and then we just got to find a back who hits that thing quick and keep them healthy and keep them fresh. And I think we'll be just as effective in the run game next year as we were this past year.
Somebody had their hand up, and I missed them. All the way in the back, rear corner.
Dana, John Helsley with the Oklahoman. Are you a fan of the move to a Big 12 championship game, and how do you feel like those teams that play in it should be determined?
Yeah, I'm in favor of a championship game. There's no question. I've said this for a couple of years. The thing I don't like about not having a championship game is having these games, these regular season games, that first week of December. I think that hurts the teams that are playing from a recruiting perspective, and it helps the teams that are playing if it's a situation where you're being considered for college football playoff or a top-tier bowl game. So I just don't like the format. I think you need to find the best 2 teams. I got all the confidence in the world with the Big 12 administration, Commissioner Bowlesby, and to figure that out. I don't have the answer, and it really doesn't matter what I think anyway.
Somebody over on the right. There we go, all the way on the right-hand side, about 3/4 of the way back. Yeah, put your hand up again so the young lady can see. I guess not. Okay. People waving in the air. Anybody else for Coach? Got a question on the front left-hand side. And then Barry, did you have a question too?
Barry, you're the one that usually asks the first question.
I missed him.
Coach, Harrison Graham, ESPN Dallas Radio again. There's been a lot of discussion about whether the Big 12 should expand. Obviously, you guys are at a traveling disadvantage. Do you think the Big 12 should expand, and would you prefer someone to be closer to you guys?
It certainly wouldn't hurt. I'm in favor of expansion. You know, I'm on the side of my boss, President Gee, you know, who's in favor of expansion as well. So, you know, that's not for me to say. There's a lot of things that go into it that I don't have the knowledge to be able to discuss. I'd like to see 2 teams added. I think a good round number of 12. I was in the Big 12 for a long time when we had 12, and it makes those divisional breakups easier, and it makes trying to get a championship together a little easier as well.
Got a question on the aisle, Barry?
Yeah, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. Dana, you're 5 years in now at West Virginia. Big 12 is no stranger to you, but have you been surprised at how difficult it's been for you to get momentum going? I think you're 15-20, 15-21 in conference play. Is this what you expected, or did you want to be farther? Think you'd be farther along?
Well, I think we're right where we need to be honest with you. I mean, we've showed improvement the last 2 years. Looking back on last year, we won more games than we have in the previous 3 years in the Big 12. 2 points away from winning 10, so I think we're pretty competitive. I think the schedule sets up a little bit better this upcoming year. You know, we got a lot of bodies, a lot of returning starters, a lot of guys that are familiar with what's going on. So I feel like we're right where we needed to be. I mean, early on, we just flat out didn't have the depth to be able to compete. We had a couple of high-level players that won us some games, but we didn't have the depth. You know, and that's not an excuse anymore, because the last couple of years we've had depth and we've been competitive. So I like where our team's at, and I feel like we're going to be every bit as competitive or more this upcoming year.
On the left here in the front.
John Warner, Waco Tribune Herald. Coach, 9 of the 10 starting quarterbacks are back from last year. What do you think of this crop? Do you think it might be one of the better ones you've seen since you've been in the league?
This go around, yes. This reminds me of some of those 2006, 2007, 2008 years, you know, where we had a lot of older guys that were returning guys. So, you know, quarterback play's been great in this league for a long, long time. You know, the last couple of years it's been a little bit more spotty, but you know, seeing all these guys coming back with what they can do, I think is pretty good. You know, with all the returning guys. You know, I alluded to it earlier. You got to score points, and because there's so many good quarterbacks and so much good skill and so much great offensive minds in this league that, you know, 35 points a game isn't going to get it done all the time. So, you know, we've addressed that, and we know what we got to do offensively, and Skyler understands that. I think Skyler's in a really good place right now, and you know, we got to be able to do what we need to do each and every week from scoring points and moving the ball to be able to be competitive, because the quarterback play and the offenses are so good in this league.
Question on the front.
Hey, Coach. Ian Boyd from Inside Texas. Last year you said developing left tackle is the priority for fall camp. What's the priority this fall camp? Is it at cornerback or defense, or is there something on offense you want to see?
Well, tackle is still something that we're trying to develop. You know, we got 2 good young tackles. You know, Yadney and McKivitz. I mean, those 2 guys are really good young tackles that we're continuing to try to develop. Timing within the passing game is important. Got a lot of good young receivers, I think, that are. It's going to be exciting to see which one of these guys break out and separate themselves, much like Kevin White did 2 years ago. Defensively, there's without a doubt it's corner. You know, we got a lot of options at corner. And we got a lot of older guys, 2 junior college transfers, a 5th-year transfer. You know, another 5th-year transfer from Miami, another junior college kid that's been on campus for 2 years. So we got, and then 4 freshmen as well. We got a lot of bodies there, but that's going to be Coach Adams' main priority and Coach Gibson's main priority is to get those guys to where we can rely on those guys to be able to do the things that we want to do defensively.
Anything else for Coach? Okay, Coach, thanks for your comments.
Awesome. Thank
Good
you.
luck.